Anyhow, we've been talking about Lynch Mob for the last couple of weeks. The reason being they got a brand new singer in their band. His name is Thadeus Gonzalez, and I want to welcome him to the Hard Rockology Show.
Thanks, Matt and Chris. Appreciate it. Right on. It's good to be here.
Tad, I mean, it's really good to get a hold of you. I mean, there's a lot of buzz out there on the hard rock, heavy metal scene right now. Lynch Mob's got a new singer, Thadeus Gonzalez, and there's a lot of people out there that weren't familiar with you with Electric Sister, and those that were are probably really excited to see that you're the new frontman for Lynch Mob. But for those that basically haven't heard of you before, I mean, I guess I'm going to ask you this. How did that happen? How did you get together with George Lynch, and how did this all come about?
Well, I was recording my solo album, which will be coming out in a few months, down in Los Angeles, and the guy who produced it, Dennis Hill, who also was the producer of the Electric Sister record, he knew the bass player of Lynch Mob, and they said that they were looking for a singer, and I said, well, shoot, I think George Lynch is tops, and so we ended up meeting and then having a rehearsal, and it kind of took off really quickly, and just like that. It was very fast. It's great. It's cool.
Now, I know Lynch Mob, or George Lynch, has had Oni Logan pretty much on vocals for the past couple years. Now, I don't know if you know anything what happened there, or why was George Lynch looking for a singer, or is this just something that he just wanted to do? He wanted to go in a different direction. Was any of that brought up at all?
Not to me. I've only was familiar with the fact that Oni Logan was their singer in the last few years, and he just wasn't singing for them nowadays, and so I think he was just looking for maybe just a new incarnation of Lynch Mob that was fresh. I'm not really sure, but I'm super happy that I'm a part of it. So far, it's been fun. Everyone's really excited.
Now that you're the new frontman for Lynch Mob, are you going to be hopping on board, of course, covering the old songs and the old material? And I'm sure there's some Dokken material in there as well. Are you also going into the studio, working with George Lynch as well? Are you guys writing some material that the fans out there can expect to hear?
I actually, right now we're doing this West Coast tour, and then we're doing Europe and some of the big metal festivals out there, and then as far as writing and stuff, it's more just touring right now and getting a feel for the possibility of recording a record. I feel like that's kind of what's going on right now. It's nothing is etched in stone. We're just going to play a bunch of shows, doing heavy amount of Dokken songs, and a good amount of Lynch Mob, and really just giving it an edge, just making a really edgy version of Lynch Mob is what we're trying to do for the live shows. So if something works out to where we do a record, then that's great, and if nothing comes out of it and we're just doing great shows, that's fine with me too. It's really a win-win situation for me right now.
Well, that's cool, yeah, because I mean, like, one thing at a time, yeah, let's get together, do some touring and stuff, and then maybe think about doing a record down the road. So what Dokken songs were you guys thinking about doing?
Well, I mean, I'm hoping to do Lost Behind the Wall, Lost Back for the Attack, and I'm not sure if the guys learned it, but that's kind of the one I really want to do. But I think we're doing a lot of the hits is what we're trying to do. A lot of the Dokken hits, and then the few Lynch Mob. I know Lynch Mob wasn't as big of a band, but we're going to do a bunch of the hits, a bunch of the main songs from Lynch Mob. But it's going to be really, I think I'm going to bring a lot of energy to the show is what I'm hoping. So it'll be cool.
Well, that's one of the things that I talked about on a previous show is I think George Lynch is a phenomenal guitar player, and I loved him in Dokken, but I realize as a fan that version of Dokken with George Lynch is never going to happen again. And for me, with George Lynch, it was kind of, I was kind of hoping he'd get that singer that's going to bring some new energy. And that was one of the things that I was struggling a little bit with with George Lynch, actually, was some of the singers coming in there just didn't have that energy that I thought matched his guitar style. And when my brother came on the show a couple weeks back and said you were joining the band as his new frontman, I figured I think that's the shot in the arm that he needs, because your vocals on the Electric Sister album, that was one of my favorite albums from 2011, 2012, and to hear you now fronting George Lynch, I think that might be the shot in the arm, at least for me, that's going to bring me back to Lynch and Lynch Mob.
Yeah, I definitely don't have the style of the 80s or that 80s kind of vibe. I feel I'm a little bit more punk rock, and it might add a little bit of a, I'm definitely a metal guy, but I've definitely got a lot of punk in me. And so I think it's going to make if something does happen, it's going to be a tough album. And he deserves that, because to me, that George Lynch's sound is tough. It's not singing about women, it's singing about, it's tough to me. So if something does happen when we record a record, I think it's going to be super fun. But as far as the live shows, I think they're going to be a blast.
And that's one of the things that I was hoping for, because you were the primary lyricist for the Electric Sister albums, and I'm thinking if you bring some of those lyrics that you had on those albums to Lynch's style of playing, I think that's a great combination, and that's what I'm hoping to look for. And hopefully, like I said, this tour works out for you guys, the relationship works out, and you guys get into the studio, because I think that's going to be a great combination. Right,
I agree. Yeah, so far, we hung out at NAMM a bunch. It's and the rehearsal we did have, there was a lot of laughing and a lot of good times. So I'm looking forward to being on the road with these guys and really laughing. Off stage, of course. On stage I tend to like to be kind of serious, but off stage I hope there's a lot of laughing and having fun, because the chemistry seems to be there. So
yeah, it's very important in the band. You also mentioned that you were in L.A. and you were working on a solo record. So can you tell us anything about that?
Yeah, it's called Utopian Society, and I think it might be coming out at the end of April. It's completely recorded, and it's mastered. It's basically ready to go. We're just working on the artwork. I will be doing shows in between Lynch Mob gigs and trying to promote this record. I'm really proud of it. I wrote it right when I left Electric Sister, and it took, about 8 or 9 months to get the musicians together to record it, but I think it's a good record, and so I'm looking forward to releasing that, like I said, maybe towards the end of April.
Now, you mentioned Electric Sister, and there's probably a lot of people out there, and I had mentioned this, Electric Sister kind of went dark, and eventually I found out that you're no longer in the band. Can you pretty much let the listeners out there know, if you want, what exactly happened there? Because that first album, at least the only album, that was a really good album.
It seemed like the band was firing on all cylinders. You guys opened up for Motley Crue and Kiss when they had that big tour, and then everything seemed like it was going great album. Then all of a sudden, there was nothing.
Yeah, I'm super lucky to have been a part of that whole that attitude, that rock attitude that Electric Sister had. I don't know a lot of bands who would like that, and quite honest, that situation was lightning in a bottle. It was like the people who became fans at the very beginning in our 2.5, 3 year run, they were our fans from right when they saw us to when we were no longer a band. But it was like herding cats. It was the craziest bunch of guys who, when we went on stage, we let that all out, and it was really hard to keep that going consistently. It was really tough for us to keep the ball rolling constantly, because we were just pretty we were wild, and we treated our music and we lived it. We were rocking really hard, and it was lightning in a bottle. It was just that band that was so cool and so fun and tough, and I was lucky to be a part of it. And it wasn't a shame that it didn't last, but it just happened to be that way. It just turned out that way. So I'm okay with it. It was good history.
And it's a great album, and our listeners out there, if you haven't had a chance to pick that album up and hear Tad singing on it, it was just one of those albums to me that put San Francisco back. I wasn't looking for San Francisco for some new hard rock, heavy metal, and here comes Electric Sister, and it was like, holy shit! What is this, man? I got to hear this thing, man, and it just totally blew me away, and it was like one of those albums that I played over and over again. It just had some great tracks on there, and it reopened me up to what's going on up in San Francisco. So if anything, you guys did that, and there's a lot of great bands coming out of that area right now.
Yeah. Did you guys ever got a chance to see us live? I always thought live was our forte. We had a show where we almost burned down the Cat Club, and
that was like your Spinal Tap moment, if I recall, in the original interview when that whole place burned down. Something with the lights or something.
Yeah, I think they did close down the Cat Club. Yeah, it's no longer in operation.
Yeah. I was going to ask you. So pretty much the band dissolved because it was just too hard to keep it going. Is that pretty much the answer? I mean, or were you guys just not getting along, or what was the real? I mean, or was it just like, you know what, just it's too much, we can't do it anymore? I mean, it's just too much effort, or I mean, I'm really not sure of the answer.
I think everybody had. People say you weren't on the same page. People use that phrase. Everybody was on a whole different book. No one was even in the same book. We were just all, no one was. It was just like, it was really just like herding cats with that band. Everybody kind of was not going in the same direction, and which made it exciting, but it didn't work out to be a family. You're basically a family when you're in band. You're married to each other, and if everybody's just doing something different, it didn't gel. It wasn't going in the right direction. That's the only way that's the way I kind of sum it up. And I was writing a lot, so I was ready to kind of start recording, and someone else was ready to do something else, and it never was going in the right direction with everybody.
Yeah, that kind of makes more sense now, because if like you're busy writing, you're saying, okay, I want to do this, and the other person's saying, well, I can't do that today, I got to do this, and then all of a sudden it becomes a whole big waiting process, and you're just like, you know what, forget it, let's just move on, and that's more or less what it sounds like from what you're telling me.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think most people who just are musicians know it's terrible being a musician. It's really difficult, and so when you're trying to do something and you're trying to like get your name out there, whatever you're trying to do, in a group situation, you need to have everybody on the same page, And if everybody's just doing something different, it doesn't really work. It doesn't go anywhere. And so that's what I kind of encountered with that group of guys. But those guys are phenomenal players, and some of those situations I was in with Electric Sister, I'll cherish forever. I mean, those are some tough ass situations we were in. Couple rad stuff happened, But we move on and we move forward.
Well, you mentioned that you were writing some material. Now, some of that material you were writing during your time with Electric Sister, is that going to make it onto your solo album that you're going to be releasing, hopefully, this spring?
Kind of. I mean, I had Dennis Hill, the guy who produced the Electric Sister, the Lost Art of Rock and Roll. He helped me produce the record, so it's changed. There's a lot of changes. So it's a different record. It's not the same vein of the Lost Art of Rock and Roll. It's just a whole other version of rock and roll, which it is what it is. But none of those songs really will be on that. Will be from the Electric Sister vibe.
All right, now, what kind of vibe can we expect from your solo material? I mean, you're saying it's from a different vein. Are you going to go in a little bit of an offshoot of the music that you love? So I guess I'll ask you this. Is it going to be, I mean, what exactly can you expect? What kind of style, if you want to use that word style or comparison, can you say that your new material, your solo material is going to be?
I'm a big fan. I mean, the style is rock, but I'm a big fan of every song sounding not like its predecessor. The song, I don't like songs to sound the same, so it's a rock album where every song to me is different and has a different vibe. It's not pedal to the metal every song, and it's not a ballad every song, and it's not alternative every song, and it's not punk rock every song. But that whole album has all those elements, and so that's I feel like that's kind of what rock is missing, because I feel like rock nowadays, it has that same, every song kind of has that same kind of vibe, and this album I'm hoping to get across that I don't think I need to hear music where every song kind of sounds the same. Whether or not it's an independent release or if it's a mainstream release, to me, like, a whole album should be a variety of songs, not this like certain sound. And I didn't want a rock album where everything sounded pedal to the metal or everything sounded ballady. I didn't want, that's kind of what I didn't want. So that's what I think it ended up being, a culmination of different styles of music put into one kind of vibe. It's cool. It's a good record.
I'm already excited about getting ready to listen to it, and just by what you described, because a lot of the stuff that we listen to for the show, I mean, a lot of the bands sound like another band, or like you just said, every song kind of sounds the same on the whole album. Maybe they'll throw a slower song in here and there. So it's kind of interesting that you're changing things up a little bit. So speaking of like other bands and stuff, I mean, is there any band in particular that you're listening to right now that you really like?
Well, there's a Yeah, but it's not rock. I've been listening to this singer-songwriter he's a country guy named Jason Isbell. He just released his new record, and I think he's everything that a songwriter should be right now. It's singing about whiskey and things like that, but he does it from a whole different perspective. And Jason Isbell, Southeastern is the name of his record, but he's kind of the one that I'm listening to right now. And I don't sound like him at all. I don't think that artists who listen to bands, I don't think they need to sound like who they like to listen to. Like, I don't sound like anything that I listen to, but that's who I'm listening to, and he's super good. I don't know who else do I have in my car right now. I have a lot of Lynch Mob.
Well, the second album of theirs is the best one, the self-titled one.
Well, wait a second. Let's ask him here.
I like the second album the best. I hope they play all songs off of that from Lynch Mob.
All right, let's put you on the spot right here, whether you can answer this or not. Lynch Mob's primarily had two singers. He's had Logan and he's had Mason. Now, are you drawn to any one of those two styles, or are you basically just picking the best tracks from both?
Am I drawn to any two styles of those albums? Because, hold on, I was a huge Dokken fan when I was a kid. My mom would not let me go see Dokken when they played with Metallica and Van Halen and Scorpions in Kingdom Come at Candlestick Park. I was too young. So I'm like a hardcore Dokken fan. So when Dokken broke up, I was in love with Lynch Mob. So, like, I know everything about George Lynch and Dokken. So you're asking the right guy.
I mean, did you have a preference? Did you think? I mean, I have a preference. I actually like the first album with Logan, Wicked Sensation, and Chris actually likes
the self-titled one
Robert
with Mason.
With Robert Mason. They're both excellent albums, but do you have a preference between those two singers, or do you think they were kind of like two different Lynch Mob albums?
I think they're definitely two different Lynch Mob records, but I think that Tony Logan's definitely got a more unique Lynch Mob style vocals, for sure. Like, that's for sure. Where Robert Mason, his voice is just a killer voice, but it doesn't give a lot of uniqueness to George Lynch's playing on the second record. It's good, great record, but the first one has a more Lynch Mob sound to me.
Okay, I guess Matt wins the bet then. I'm sorry to hear that. But
sorry, Wicked Sensation out of those two albums was the better of the two albums.
Yeah, but I think the songs are better on the second album. I mean, maybe with a different singer, maybe it would have been even greater, but I think that the songs on that second album are fantastic compared to what's on the first album. That's just my opinion, but hey, what do I know?
All I know is we got two...
I like that. That's cool. That's super cool. That's cool that you like that. I didn't see the Wicked Sensation tour. He played at the Omni in Oakland, and it was sold out. And I was like, I don't even remember. I was really young. It was sold out, so I saw the second tour with Robert Mason out here in the Bay Area, and that was the first time I'd seen Lynch Mob. And they killed it. They totally killed it. It was a great show. Yeah,
I just like the guitar playing on that album, too. It's got a weird sound to it, and the recording of that album is really kind of strange if you go back and listen to it. And I guess that's what I like about it. But people like what they like. And, I mean, as far as Dokken albums, I like the Under Lock and Key album. That's my favorite Dokken album.
Yeah, I like Under Lock and Key, I think, is my favorite. And then Back to the Attack, and then Tooth and Nail. And then, actually, Dysfunctional, I think, is my favorite.
Yeah, that's got some good songs on it too. Considering when it came out in '95, that's got some really good songs on it too.
Yeah, that was the first time I saw Dokken, was on the Dysfunctional tour. So, it took a long time for them to. I was too young when they were together during the Back to the Attack, and previously I couldn't go. So.
Well, if you get a chance when you see George again, ask him. You know what, George? You released an album called Back for the Attack, and you have a song called Back for the Attack. Why the hell didn't you put Back for the Attack on Back for the Attack? Just ask him that. That's all I'm asking.
The bass player, Kevin Valdez, who's also the bass player of the band Lit, if you guys have heard of them.
Yes.
He just brought up that we should open up with Back for the Attack on this tour. So we've been listening. Well, I've been listening to Back to the Attack. That's a great tune.
I mean, that's one of my favorite Dokken songs, and it was never released. And I was like, we played it last week on the show, and I was like, you have a whole album called Back for the Attack, and you didn't put that track on there. And just about every Dokken fan that's heard that song goes, why the hell didn't you guys ever release this track? So, yeah, I'll tell you what. If you guys open up for Back for the Attack, I will be one hell of a happy freaking...
I was thinking Kiss of Death would be cool, too.
No, open up with Back for the Attack.
Okay, all right.
That's the song you open up with. Kiss of Death is a good song, but I don't need to be thinking about some girl giving me the kiss of death and me dying of AIDS. I don't need that shit when I'm going to a concert. Back for the Back for the Attack's the song to open up with, man. So if you have any influence on George, go open up with Back for the Attack. I think there's going to be a shitload of fans out there that are just going to love it.
Yeah, we want to hear Tooth and Nail and When Heaven Comes Down.
Oh yeah, we rock Tooth and Nail. We rock When Heaven Comes Down for sure. Yeah, we turn those up. You know, actually, I think that Back for the Attack was released on the Dream Warriors soundtrack, which only had 3 songs on it. It was Back to the Attack, Dream Warriors, and it was just a cassette from the Nightmare on Elm Street movie.
Yep.
I think.
Yeah, we talked about that on the show last week.
Yeah, we got that on the show last week, and that's exactly what I told everybody that was the only...
In fact, you opened up the show with that song last week.
We opened up the show last week with Back for the Attack, and that was what I said, and they were like...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, how did you get that track? I said, I had an old cassette, man. I had to convert it to an MP3, so, yeah.
That's fucking awesome. That's great stuff right there. See?
All right. Well, it looks like that song is going to be in the set list. I can guarantee it now.
Yeah, I can't. No, you can't. No, I can't confirm that. We were just talking about it, so I'm just saying.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, like I said, man, there's a lot of George Lynch Dokken fans out there. If you guys came out and played that track, I think everybody in the place would be blown away, and that's just a great track.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool.
Anyway, you guys have some West Coast dates. Tell us a little bit about that real quick.
Well, let's see. We're playing Vegas on the 13th, and then Valentine's Day we're playing the Whiskey A Go Go, which should be a really fun show. We're playing Seattle, Portland, Sacramento. There's about 9 dates. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be super fun. So, I mean, if we just do, maybe George will do a good 45-minute guitar solo. Watch him just kill it. It'd be awesome.
I don't know. What do you think? 45-minute guitar solo? That's pretty long.
As long as I have time to get a beer and come back and
45 minutes, dude. That's like Lynch Mob doing like a Dazed and Confused or something.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe not.
45-minute guitar solo. Holy shit.
Yes.
Where's the singer at?
Yeah, his fingers would be all bleeding and shit. There's no way he could do a 45-minute.
That'd be kind of cool, though. Now I want to see that. Now I want to see him do a 45-minute guitar solo.
All right, mention it to him.
People don't do guitar solos anymore? People do them, right?
Oh, yeah. We just got done seeing Shankner. Shankner was playing out the guitar solos recently.
Yeah,
so, yeah,
guitar solos are definitely back in rock and roll.
Yeah, so that's one thing we're glad to see.
They're back. That's cool. Cool.
All right, Thad, well, we want to thank you again for coming on the show. We're looking forward to your solo album. That's going to be coming out when? And you said April?
Yeah, we're thinking end of April, yeah.
Okay, cool.
We're just working on the artwork right now, yeah.
All right.
Now, is there any way, if anybody wants to find out about you, your solo material, is there any place that they can go right now, or are you currently still setting all that up?
I'm currently setting all that up.
What about a Facebook page? You have one of those?
I don't. I've never had one. I've got to grow up and get a Facebook page.
All right.
So why don't you go ahead and take us out of this segment and introduce one of your classic tracks off of the Electric Sister album. So why don't you go ahead and take us out of this segment and introduce one of your favorite tracks off of that, in my opinion, one of the best albums from 2011, 2012.
All right. This is Thaddeus from Hard Rockology, and we're about to rock Electric Sister. The song City of Night. Turn it up.